Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. It's Wednesday, the 18th of March, and this is the State and Local Government Committee. My name is Sue Salisbury, and I represent House District 128, which is part of Westbrook. I'm the host chair of this committee, and we have two items. We have three items scheduled for today that we are going to work on two different bills. And before we get started, though, I'll go ahead and have the committee introduce himself. I can start with Representative Farren.
Good afternoon, Wayne Farren from Jefferson. Also represent Alner, Wiscasset, and Whitefield, all in Lincoln County.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Rollins. I represent House District 59, which is right here on the west side of Augusta.
Welcome. My name is Lynn Copeland, and I'm proud to represent the folks in House District 130, which is Saco in the County of York.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Martin. I represent Senate District 19, which is the middle and top half of Oxford and Franklin County to the Canadian border.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Will Toole. I represent House District 10, which is Central Washington County.
Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Pomelo, and I represent Standish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Randall Greenwood. I proudly represent my friends and neighbors in Litchfield, Monmouth, and my hometown of Wales, spanning both Androscoggin and Kennebec counties.
And we're going to start with LD 2228, and I'm going to turn things over to Representative Greenwood.
All right. I'm going to open the public hearing on LD 2228, an act to eliminate inactive boards and commissions. The bill presented by our own Representative Salisbury.
Thank you so much, Representative Greenwood. So this bill is a bill that comes before this committee every session. It's just an annual report that comes through showing potentially committees and boards and commissions that would be scheduled to be eliminated if they hadn't followed through, perhaps with some of they hadn't been meeting or they hadn't filed their reports. But I just want to make it really, really super clear that we are not eliminating any boards or commissions unless they have specifically asked to be eliminated. So we're happy that there are people from different boards and commissions that have come forward. I think that one of the best parts about this bill is probably the reminders for different boards and commissions that they needed to submit their reports, or maybe something had fallen through the cracks. But please don't panic. The boards or commissions would not be eliminated unless we specifically heard that it was okay to do that. I think that I'm happy to take questions, but I think there's probably a lot of people here that will talk about the different boards and commissions, and we can move right into that.
All right. Are there any questions for Representative Salisbury? Seeing none, thank you very much. Is there anybody here wishing to speak? Oh, can you leave that on? Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor? We're going to start with those in favor.
I just wanted to say something really quickly, and I didn't, when I first started, I didn't introduce, we have people filling in today for our committee. We have Sophie filling in for our clerk, and we have Danielle filling in for our analyst. Thank you guys for coming to do that. So I just wanted to talk really quickly also about the work that Kristen did, our analyst, to get us to this point. So we voted out this bill. She, or originally started work on this bill. She sent a correspondence to each board or commission that was in the Secretary of State's report. Either they had been inactive or they had failed to file a report. All the information about the public hearing and the work session were sent to those boards and commissions. As part of the process, the Office of the Governor assists in providing outreach to the boards and commissions and they're here to testify today if needed. And other departments and legislative liaisons might be here as well. The Secretary of State's office can answer questions about this. In our packet as a committee, she has, first of all, she has provided this salmon color chart that is all the information that she has received to date. In our packet of information were letters, memos, and other testimonies that were sent to Kristen or provided online. They're all in our folders as well. Each provisions from the Secretary of State's report has been included and organized in a table of contents. We have the best analysts on the planet. This is buff colored. And it has all of the provisions, it has the page numbers, it has all of the information that you ever wanted to know about all these boards and commissions, which is really super helpful. So that has been provided as well. So we'll go ahead and then I'll look to you, Representative Greenwood, the best way for us to move forward with each of these items. As far as like inviting people to come up if they want to tell us about their board or commissioner, you've done this process before.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. We have a room full of people and I'm not sure if they're here for this or the other bill. But I think it's important that we hear if anybody wants to speak in favor, and then also ask for anybody who is opposed and anybody who might be neither for nor against, but might have something to offer. Again, we've given the clear indication that we're not looking to, abandon or discontinue any board or commission that doesn't really want to be discontinued. But they're only here on this list because they haven't complied with statute.
Awesome. So I guess the other thing that we can do is in this document, the salmon color document that we received from Kristen, the first one that comes up that we've received a request to repeal is the Board of Licensure of Professional Investigators. Is there anybody here from the Board of Professional Investigators? Yes, come on up and introduce yourself, sir. Oh.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Feely. I'm Deputy Counsel in the Governor's Office, representing there are two boards within DPS that the Department of Public Safety has agreed. They've been on this list before. And they tried to reconstitute them. These are the Board of Licensure of Professional Investigators and the Polygraph Examiners Advisory Board. They're both advisory boards. It's a small community that's regulated. They just haven't been able to get enough people who want to serve on the board to advise on the regulation of their industry. And I think it's Maine State Police personnel who are sort of organize them, the meetings, should they have them, and they just haven't been able to get people interested in serving. And I think they feel that if people in the regulated community aren't interested in serving on these advisory boards, then perhaps it's time to let them go.
All right, so just to be clear, those were the Board of License of Professional Investigators and the Polygraph Examiners Advisory Board.
That's correct.
Right, and according to this document, those were the only two that we heard from that requested to be repealed.
Yes,
Okay,
those are the only two that I'm aware of. I've also
Yeah, that's-
discussed with Kristen Bishop. I think we have the same answers independently, so.
okay, great.
And
Does anybody have questions about those two boards or commissions? Oh, yes, Representative Tool?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question isn't about those two boards, but there are three others that, looking at this chart, there's no indication of whether they'd prefer to stay or go. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on those as well. And I guess where I'm looking at it, if they want to stay, fine. If they don't want to stay, that's fine too. But what is the case with these three that there's no indication on?
I don't have the,
Okay.
benefit of that
Let me
document.
see, they are the Board of Visitors, Maine State Prison, the Higher Education Interpersonal Violence Advisory Commission, and the third one is the State Education and Employment Outcomes Task Force. Those three have not indicated one way or the other.
I didn't have the Board of Visitors on my list.
Oh.
But the other two, sorry, I think the governor's office wasn't taking a position on the Higher Education Interpersonal Violence Advisory Commission because it's a creature of higher education institutions that we aren't directly involved in, so we were going to defer to them. What was the third one? I didn't write it. Sorry.
Sorry, it was the Maine State Prison, the Higher Education, and the last one was State Education and Employment Outcomes Task Force.
Yeah, again, that was one that we looked at. It's staffed by the Legislative Council, so we didn't take a position on that
Okay.
From the governor's office.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I think that we have some, I can speak to the Board of Visitors. There are other bills currently in criminal justice that will address that. So we definitely want to keep that board, that one's being addressed. Now, I was just looking at in our packet, we have the some information about the state education. Oh, this is the State Education and Employment Outcomes Task Force. I think is that one of the ones you just mentioned. So that, but this is information from 2021. Let me just see here. Okay. Sorry, we just have a lot of information here to go through. Yeah, that would be great. Come on up. Say it again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She can't speak to that. Okay. All right, well, so noted on those three. I know for sure the Board of Visitors is one that we want to keep open because there is work being done on that. So we'll flag those other two to make sure that what the plan is for those. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, Senator Martin.
We've got 19 things for different boards on the yellow page that we have in the folder. And in the bill itself, we have 15. Why isn't this including the bill itself?
We can respond to that after the hearing, if you'd like. I can speak to that after the hearing if you'd like, if she can speak to that afterwards of the public hearing. Okay, yes.
Representative Copeland.
All right, I see on this salmon colored paper that there's a response from board or commission column. And a lot of that, the first several, at least 2 pages. So there's a lot of information there that have people from those committees have submitted their paperwork, albeit late. Just pointing that out.
Great, thank you. Did you have a question? Yeah. Is there anybody here that would like to provide testimony in favor of this bill? Yes. Representative, thank you.
Thank you. And I don't have any written testimony because it was Representative Toole from your committee that said, hey, why don't you come up and talk about this? So I'm Allison Hepler. I represent House District 49, which is the Rouseck, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich, and West Bath. And I'm speaking on behalf of, I'm also House Chair of the Marine Resources Committee, a committee I've served on for 8 years, and just wanted to provide some information about the two marine resources related councils, commissions. One of them is the Department of Marine Resources Advisory Council, and you have Deirdre Gilbert's letter in your packet. So I'm just going to kind of summarize from there. It's a DMR Advisory Council is 17-member council. It provides a lot of representation from commercial fisheries, recreational fisheries, wholesale seafood dealers, and there's a good geographic mix. There's also a couple of people, there's a representative from the Lobster Advisory Council. All of these are important for the commercial fishing industry, Aquaculture Advisory Council. And what they do, I think the most important thing they do is they provide advice and consent for the amount of rulemaking that the department does. And so they advise the commissioner, no rulemaking gets approved without their consent. We just reappointed or appointed a number of those advisory council members in the committee a couple of weeks ago, and we will be doing more of them next week. And to give you an idea of the kind of work that they do and maybe why it hasn't been as active as it should be, is that a lot of them are commercial fishermen. We actually, one of the people we're reappointing tomorrow is unavailable in person because he is out on his boat. So, and then, so that's Marine Advisory Council. The other one is the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, which I actually am a member of. Each state has 3 commissioners. I am the legislative appointee. They cooperatively manage. So it's not even really a state agency in this way that I think of these are. They conserve and manage 27 different species. The ones that matter mostly to Maine are lobster. These are migratory fish in state waters primarily. And the big ones are lobster, menhaden, striped bass, and eel. And I think there's probably a few more. And I can attest that they're meeting actively. I'm not responsible for writing the report, so please don't blame me for that. But we meet 4 times a year and then other times as needed. So.
So I just want to confirm, Representative Hepler, you are against this bill because you don't want us to.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, that's okay. But thank you for that. Was very super helpful.
Yeah. I didn't read the bill very
Greenwood.
carefully.
You stole my thunder because I knew she was on the wrong side of this issue here.
I got confused. Yeah.
So my question is to you, you're obviously in support of retaining these
Yes.
2 boards.
Yes, thank
Will you commit to this committee so that you're not on the list in 2 years, that you will work with somebody to at least get them to A, have a clerk, because that's required by statute,
Yep.
and file their report?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Got to write that down. And I
Great,
think
thank
she's
you so
listening.
much.
Yeah.
Was there anybody that would like to speak in favor of us eliminating these boards? Just to be safe.
It's a good dance.
Good job. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak against this bill? Against eliminating these bills? Yes. Come on up. Anybody? Nope.
We got somebody.
Yes, no. Yes. The taker. Hi there, welcome. Please come on up and introduce yourself. Sorry, he didn't respond.
Good afternoon.
Hi there, welcome, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Senator Baldacci, Representative BB Center, and members of the committee. I'm Christina Lunner. I'm a relatively new Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Professional and Financial Regulation. I'm here representing Penny Valancourt, the Director of the Office of Professional and Occupational Regulation, or OPOR. She has a conflict. She'll join us later if she can. OPOR has 38 licensing boards and programs, including the Board of Respiratory Care Practitioners. Thank you for the opportunity. The board's sole statutory purpose is to protect the public, and it does so by identifying minimum standards for licensure, investigating allegations of unprofessional and incompetent practice, and imposing discipline when deemed appropriate. The board issues licenses to individuals seeking to practice as a respiratory care therapist, a respiratory care technician, or a respiratory care trainee upon meeting the educational and examination requirements. Currently, there are 1,046 actively licensed respiratory care therapists, 138 actively licensed respiratory care technicians, and 17 respiratory care trainees. This biennial legislation, as you know, seeks to repeal inactive boards. Due to inactivity, Part 8 of the bill proposes to eliminate the Board of Respiratory Practitioners in 2 sections. In A1, it eliminates compensation for members of the board, and A30 eliminates the board itself. OPOR opposes the repeal of these sections as the continued regulation of this profession is necessary to protect the public. There are pending complaint cases and applications for licensure that have not moved forward in the administrative process due to circumstances outside the board's control. The board has not had sufficient appointed members to constitute a quorum, and therefore has not been able to meet. The board is comprised of 5-member seats, 3 of which are licensed respiratory care practitioners, and 2 are public members. OPOR has been working with the Governor's Office of Boards and Commissions, or OBC, to identify interested and qualified candidates. According to the OBC, there are now 3 qualified board members candidates. If those candidates move forward in the gubernatorial appointment process and complete the required paperwork by the Secretary of State, then we'll have a quorum for this board, and the board will establish public meetings and continue its work. So all that to say, thank you for the opportunity to present OPOR's perspective, and I'm happy to take back any questions to Penny.
Thank you so much for your
Yep.
time and testimony. We appreciate it. Questions, Representative Greenwood?
Thank you. So I understand there's not a quorum to have a meeting, but is there a clerk appointed to the committee? And is the clerk willing to submit a report, at least that the committee is not meeting, but that's still a report?
Great question. I'll get back to you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Is there anybody else who would like to speak against this bill? I mean, for the bill, sorry. Jeez, I'm all backwards now. No, we're doing against. Against. Yeah, against, you don't want the board,
Good.
these.
I'm going to try not to be confusing. Thank you, Representative Salisbury. Representative Salisbury and Representative Greenwood, and honorable members of the State and Local Government Committee. I'm Jess Fay, and I'm the Policy and Advocacy Director for the Maine Council on Aging. We're a broad multidisciplinary network of over 140 organizations, businesses, municipalities, and older community members working to ensure we can all live healthy, engaged, and secure lives with choices and opportunities as we age at home and in community settings. And I'm also here representing the Essential Care and Support Workforce Partnership. The partnership is a coalition of over 300 providers, care workers, and family members collaborating to build the conditions needed to support a strong care workforce. And I'm here against LD 228, specifically lines 21 and 22. These lines repeal the Essential Support Workforce Advisory Committee, or ESWAC. This committee was created in the 130th legislature as LD 898 to establish the Essential Support Workforce Advisory Committee to advise the legislature, the governor, and state agencies on issues involving the essential support workforce. It has statutory sunset in January of 2028.
SWAC has been meeting regularly since its creation, most recently on December 10th of 2025. The annual report can be found on the SWAC webpage, along with information about the membership of the committee and how to join the interested parties list. Essential care and support workers are people who provide care and support to older people, people with physical and intellectual disabilities, and people with behavioral health challenges in home, residential care, treatment, and community settings. People who do this physically and emotionally demanding work provide the foundation for our entire healthcare system. Attracting and retaining workers using various policies and tools has been ongoing work, and SWAC has been an integral part of that work. SWAC has made recommendations that have begun to bear fruit, and 2 of their recommendations are actually included in LD 1932, an act to support essential support workers and enhance workforce development, which was voted unanimously out of the Health and Human Services Committee on March 3rd. And one of the provisions in that bill adds 2 new members to SWAC. It adds the long-term care ombudsman and a statewide organization representing personal care agencies as well. These additions will actually strengthen the committee and their ability to collaborate across different sectors. So SWAC is an active committee and should not be eliminated. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Representative Greenwood. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I've asked the previous speakers, so it appears you're active and you're meeting. Will you commit to having a clerk and having your clerk report to the Secretary of State of your activities?
So here's what I think. I think the report happened, but I think the name on the report refers to the LD 898 Commission. And so I think there was a language differential miscommunication. But we will make sure we rectify that in the future.
Yeah. I just want, I just want confirmation that, yes, you still want to be here.
Yes.
And that you'll follow up with the Secretary of State's office to be in compliance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Fay? Yes. Representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll take an opportunity to introduce myself. I am Lori Gramlich, and I represent House District 131, which is the lovely seaside community of Old Orchard Beach, and I'm also the Assistant House Majority Leader. Thank you for coming, Ms. Fay. I have a question just for a point of clarity, particularly for those who might be listening in. When you referenced lines 21 and 22 of the bill, I'm presuming you meant on page 1 because there are 3 pages to the bill, and I just wanted to make sure that we were referring to the specific portion that you were referencing in your testimony.
Thank you, Representative Gramlich. Yes, the part of the bill that references SWAC.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time. and
Thank you very
testimony. I
much.
Appreciate it. Is there anybody else here that would like to testify against this bill? Hi there. Welcome.
We're having pen problems.
Oh, goodness. Thank you so much for being here. Whenever you're ready for it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Representative Salisbury and esteemed members of the Committee on State and Local Government. My name is Jenna Jones, and I am the Policy and Advocacy Manager for the Maine Association for Community Service Providers, also known as MACSP. MACSP represents nearly 100 community-based organizations delivering person-centered supports to adults and children with intellectual and developmental disabilities and brain injuries across Maine. These services are delivered by a dedicated workforce of approximately 9,000 direct support professionals and are foundational to supporting independence and full and inclusive lives in the community. I am here on behalf of MACSP's member organizations to respectfully urge the committee to amend LE 2228, to remove SWAC as proposed for elimination in this bill. And I see on the salmon-colored paper that you have already acknowledged the request to retain. Thank you so much. I would echo much of what my colleague, Ms. Fay, offered in her testimony, and simply note that MACSP incredibly values and supports the work of the SWAC, which examines workforce needs across service sectors that rely on the direct care workforce and monitors shortages, recruitment, and retention efforts, and works to strengthen this essential workforce. Indeed, a MACSP board member currently serves as the vice chair on the committee. What's so incredibly important about SWAC's work, however, is the fact that the challenges around accessing Maine's direct care workforce continue to persist. And what SWAC really represents is an opportunity for providers and agencies to come together with legislators, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Department of Labor to work collaboratively and cohesively. And this is one of the few areas where we have consistent ability to do that, and for that work to turn into policy that actually strengthens Maine's direct care workforce. So I appreciate your time and attention to this bill today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the importance of ensuring that this work continues. I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for your time and your
Thank
testimony.
you.
Is there any questions?
Thank you again.
Is there anybody else here? Hello, Representative Riley. Welcome.
I know, you're supposed to be over there. Who's over there? There. Good afternoon, Senator Baldacci, Representative Salisbury, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government. My name is Morgan Riley, and I represent House District 127, which includes part of Westbrook. I also serve as the House Chair for the Citizen Trade Policy Commission, and I'm submitting testimony requesting the exemption of the Citizen Trade Policy Commission from LD 2228, which I see in the salmon colored packet that requests to retain has been submitted by DCD. But I just want to give just some background to the Citizens Trade Policy Commission. It plays a key part in helping the state respond to international trade policies that impact the state's economy, along with giving a voice to Maine workers on how trade impacts them. The commission serves as a dedicated body to review trade developments, advise policymakers to ensure that Maine's core industries, manufacturing, forest products, agriculture, commercial fishing, aquaculture, are represented, and that the state remains responsive to these shifting global economic conditions. For some further background, I was appointed the House Chair of the Commission by the Speaker of the House at the end of the first session. Over the summer and fall, I met with both Maureen Terry of DCD and President Wade Merritt of the Maine International Trade Center. We discussed how to revitalize the Commission to address today's trade landscape, and we're working on updated statutory language to modernize the Commission structure and responsibilities. And while we had put in a bill with Ledge Council last year, didn't go through. We had to pull it, and after this session ends, we are hoping to restart meetings and to prepare for the 133rd legislature, so we're able to file the report, which was what I think that we got in trouble for. So I just want to put it out there, please do not eliminate this vital commission. It's done a lot of great work over the past, I believe it's been around for about 20 years or so, especially with the current moment that we are currently in. So that's just my request to all of you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Representative Riley. Yes, Representative Greenwood.
All right, I appreciate you being here and accepting the fact that you're wanting to continue forward. Will you commit to at least having a clerk and make sure the report is filed? Having the clerk is the most important.
Yeah, I agree with that. I believe Mo will be coming and speaking after me. I believe DCD, maybe they will serve as the clerk.
Other questions for Representative Riley? Great, thank you so much. Is there anybody else here that would like to testify against this bill? Anybody? Hi there, welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Representative Salisbury, members of the Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government. My name is Adam Good. I'm the Legislative and Political Director at the Maine AFL-CIO. We represent 40,000 working people in the state of Maine. We work to improve lives and working conditions of our members and all working people. We testify in opposition to the part of the bill that eliminates the Maine Citizen Trade Policy Commission. We would echo and reiterate the comments from the representative that spoke before me. International trade agreements are often unjust and unsustainable. Past trade agreements have had a chilling effect on working class communities in Maine, have allowed corporations to evade environmental policies by shifting jobs and pollution to countries that have weak environmental policies, and have resulted in the loss of manufacturing jobs in Maine and the United States. The Commission provides an ongoing state-level mechanism to assess the impact of international trade policies and agreements on Maine's state and local laws, business environment, and working conditions. The Commission has duties that include assessing and monitoring the legal and economic impacts of trade agreements on state and local laws, working conditions, and the business environment. It provides a mechanism for citizens and legislators to voice their concerns and recommendations, making policy recommendations designed to protect Maine's jobs, business environment, and laws from any negative impacts of trade agreements. For years, the Commission helped shape trade policy through a local perspective on how trade deals impact workers and businesses in Maine. They produced regular trade assessments and communication to decision makers on federal and international trade policy, and have played a longstanding and important role in our relationship to trade agreements. I'll conclude my testimony there, and we're happy to call anybody in the Secretary of State's office or at the International Trade Center, whomever it is, to help remind folks to submit their reports on time.
Thank you so much for your time and testimony. Any questions? Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else who would like to testify against this bill? We do have somebody on Zoom. Oh, thank you. I believe we have Karen Lee Harrington.
The wormhole. Yeah, it's like a Star Trek. Then should be perfect.
Hi there, Karen Lee, can you hear us?
Sorry, I stole a pen.
Oh,
Oh, you're.
there you go.
Good afternoon.
there.
Sorry about that. Having a little problem with my computer.
No problem.
So I'll be really quick. I don't want to waste your time. I know you have a lot going on. The bottom line is for the two, one board and one advisory committee that was listed as not meeting for a couple of years, we're asking that you not repeal them. That we're working on a broader strategy to get rid of the Deergo Health Board of Trustees that we'll do in a legislative packet or bill in the next session. And for the MHDO Health Information Advisory Committee, we're working on convening that group this year. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but again, I don't want to. I know you got a lot of other things to deal with today.
No problem. Can you tell me again which boards you were referencing?
Yes. So the first one was the Board of Trustees for the Deergo Health Program.
Okay.
And the second is the Maine Health Data Organization's Health Information Advisory Committee. And I did submit letters. I wasn't expecting to testify. I just came to be available for your work session if you have any questions, but I did submit some letters if you want some more information on the Deergo Health Board of Trustees.
Okay, great. Thank you. Representative Greenwood?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, did you want to retain both of them?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Second question is, as I've asked everybody before, you're only on a list because you didn't do something you were supposed to do. Will you commit to having a clerk and getting the reports filed to the Secretary of State's office?
So Yes, yes, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else who would like to testify against this bill? Anybody that would like to testify neither for nor against this bill? Hello, Honorable Maureen Terry. Candy, let's save the best for last. That's what I was saying.
Served on this committee.
This position.
Right. Neither for nor against, but with Candy. I love it.
Right. He knows the score.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you so much, Representative Salisbury, distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government. I offer chocolate as my tribute, having served on this committee in the 129th. I remember this day very clearly at the end of this session of the 129th. My name is Maureen Terry, and I'm the Legislative Liaison for the Department of Economic and Community Development, and I'm submitting testimony asking the committee exempt the Citizen Trade Policy Commission and the Main Island of Ireland Trade Commission from LD 228 and act to eliminate inactive boards and commissions. First, I want to acknowledge and appreciate, again, the committee's work in reviewing the status of these boards and commissions. Regular review is always important to important responsibility of the legislature. However, in the case of these two commissions, their recent inactivity does not reflect a lack of value or relevance, but rather circumstances that have limited their ability to operate during most of this recent reporting period. The Citizens Trade Policy Commission plays an important role, as you heard, in helping Maine monitor and respond to international trade policies. Maine is a highly trade-dependent state with many of our key industries, including manufacturing, forest products, agriculture, and emerging technologies. We're relying on the success and access of international markets. A body dedicated to reviewing the trade policy and providing guidance to policymakers helps ensure that Maine's interests are represented and the state remains informed about evolving global economic conditions. The Commission's statutory structure, however, has not kept pace with current economic realities and trade dynamics. Recognizing this, the Maine International Trade Center, which oversees the Commission's work, has been working, as you heard, with Representative Riley to develop updated statutory language that would modernize the Commission's structure and responsibilities. For instance, there are likely too many maybe not too many folks on it, but we can narrow those down into current, that can handle current expectations. Additionally, of course, as you heard, he was just appointed to the commission and did try to start this work, but we were, the bill that he had put in for the second regular session was rejected. So we will continue to work with him on that. Similarly, the Main Island of Ireland Trade Commission was established to strengthen economic and cultural ties between Maine and Ireland, relationships that have historically been important to the state. And while the commission has not yet had the opportunity to fully begin its work, there have been conversations. The governor is currently in the process of reviewing and recommending appointments to that commission. Once those appointments are finalized, the commission will be positioned to begin its works building stronger trade, investment, and economic partnerships, and I'll add educational partnerships as well to that. Both commissions serve important strategic purposes related to Maine's economic engagement with international partners, and for these reasons, I respectfully encourage the committee to exempt the Citizens Trade Policy Commission and the Main Island of Ireland Trade Commission from the provisions of this bill, allowing them the time necessary to update their statutory frameworks, finalize appointments, and begin fulfilling their intended missions and reporting.
Great, thank you so much. Questions, Representative Greenwood?
Do it.
Yeah, you just, so you indicated that they don't, they haven't really started, but once they do, you will. So you
Absolutely.
will come off the list and we won't have to.
You'll
we won't
never
have to
hear from
about
us
it.
again.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great, other questions? Thank you for your time and
Thank
testimony.
you.
We
Of
appreciate it.
course.
Is there anybody else who would like to testify against this bill? Oh, neither for nor against this bill. Okay, great. That closes the public hearing on this bill. Before we, yes, Representative Greenwood? Oh, yeah. Go ahead. We do have the option to move to go into a work session. Our covering analyst is prepared to assist and answer some of the questions that have been asked leading up to this moment. Representative Greenwood?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I would move that we suspend the rules and move into work session on this bill.
Okay. I will second that. All those in favor? It's unanimous of all those present. We'll give Ms. Fox an opportunity to readjust. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate your help.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Danielle Fox. I have the privilege to serve as the leader of the Office of Policy and Legal Analysis. And I have big shoes to fill with Ms. Bishop because she's pretty good at what she does, as you can see from the materials that she provided to you. I know Representative Toole had a couple of questions. And I also know Senator Martin had a question when you first started the public hearing. And since Representative Toole has stepped out, I'll respond to Senator Martin's question.
It's in alphabetical order. I didn't see that. That's why it doesn't match the other list.
Well, there's another reason as well, and I did want to point that out, which is if you look at the buff packet that Kristen provided for you, that's the initial, that comes from the initial report that you received from the Secretary of State's office that outlines which boards and commissions have not submitted their reports or met. And there are a few at the top. Let's see, number 2, number 7, number 8, and then one down in the middle of the page, number 13. Those have an asterisk because the section of statute which you would have to address to repeal that board or commission, if you so chose, is a little more complicated than just there's other elements of statute that are there, and it wouldn't be as simple as repealing a section of law. It could be a little bit more complicated, and so those would be things that you would need more guidance from you, and so they're not listed to repeal them outright because the statute just doesn't allow for it to be a quick repeal that section. So that's why the number on the bill doesn't necessarily match the number on the buff packet that you received. With regard to Representative Toole's questions, I know he asked about the 3 boards or commissions within the chart for which there was no box checked under the request to either retain the board or commission or to repeal it. You do have letters that you received regarding those in your packet, and those are indicated in this salmon sheet. With regard to numbers 14 and 19, so that is the Higher Educational Interpersonal Violence Advisory Commission. And then 19 is the State Education and Employment Outcomes Task Force. You did receive communication from the University of Maine system to speak about those. They did not, they talked about the underlying law or the associated law that goes with the task force. They did not make a recommendation about the task force itself, but that they did comment on the other elements of the law that relate to or are tangential to those task force or boards. So I did want to draw your attention to that piece of, oh, sure.
So in the correspondence, which I'll paw through in a minute, can you just summarize? Are they looking to retain, or have they met, or was there no indication that they even need this?
So I'll just draw your attention to the testimony. So it says means public universities. With regard to, they
with the State Employment and Outcomes Task Force. They said that they believe, so that's the university system, believes that the task force is likely unnecessary, although they would defer to the Maine Department of Labor to offer their comment on that. So there's sort of two at play here. The sort of baseline information here is there's this database about employment outcomes that is really useful, and they wanted to reiterate that they think the underlying database that this task force would meet and discuss is something useful, and they want to ensure that that stays in place, but they are saying that in their mind, they don't believe that the task force is necessary. That's the university. I don't think we have communication from DOL on that. And the other was the Higher Education Interpersonal Violence Advisory Committee. Again, there are other elements of that law that the university is involved with, and they are complying with that and doing what they need to. That is separate from the advisory commission, and they said that they would defer to the Maine Department of Education as to whether or not that should be eliminated. The university testimony indicates that, to their knowledge, it has never been convened.
I just want to confirm, Senator Martin, was your question answered?
Yes, it was.
Senator, Representative Greenwood, what about you? So just to confirm, so the two commissions that were mentioned, the first one was the Maine Workforce Research Development and Student Achievement. No, that's not the right one.
Number 14 and number 19 on the salmon chart.
And so in the second one, the State Education and Employment Outcomes Task Force, that one is the one that looks like is inactive.
I think it last met in 2014 is my recollection. Yes.
Yeah, okay. That was.
Representative Toole did have a question.
Representative Toole.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back.
I'm sorry. I
So
didn't
we
know
were
this one
just
come in.
talking about your question and going over those.
It must have been a great question because I don't remember what it was.
Representative Toole, it was regarding there were three boards or commissions listed within the chart for which that box wasn't checked, either request to retain or request to repeal. And there is testimony that has been received on two of those three. And then I was just about to speak on the third.
Thank you.
The third was, if you look on your salmon chart, number 13, the Board of Visitors of the Maine State Prison. And there is currently legislation that addresses this, that's before the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee. So this, it may, be wise for this committee to see how that legislation progresses rather than have two things that might conflict coming out of two separate committees that could address the Board of Visitors of the Maine State Prison. And that LD is LD 1962 that's being considered in criminal justice, if you were looking to look at that bill.
Yes, Representative Rollins.
You go ahead, I'm gonna say the same thing. No, you. Jim. You gonna say something?
Calling on you.
Yep. So we don't really have time to wait and see. So I imagine the direction is keep it in place. And it's for another year, right? To not retain this.
It's possible that the outcome of that legislation, I'm not very familiar with that and couldn't speak to it, but it's possible that they may rearrange that and be either changing its composition so that it is able to meet or submit reports, or maybe I don't really know the outcome.
Right, for sure, but we're gonna be ending our business, if not today, tomorrow. So I don't know if that's a question or a statement, but I just.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the work about the boards of visitors. I think we should leave it in place. The other two, the ones that we mentioned related to the universities, and one of them hasn't met since 2014. And then the second one, or the first one, I guess, the number 14, I'm not sure. And that one, it's still a little more, not as clear, I think. Which was the Higher Education Interpersonal Violence Advisory Committee. So I don't know. Yes, Representative Greenwood.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I too was kind of along the lines of number 14 and number 19, especially when we hear it's unlikely, they haven't met. They're not doing a lot of work. They haven't met since 2014. But maybe we could get some insight from the Secretary of State's office for the one that receives these reports. And do they have anything further to offer?
Hi there, welcome. Thanks so much for being here, patiently waiting.
Kathy Bodwin with the Bureau of Corporations and Commissions in UCC. So again, I just want to remind you that we report to you guys all the boards and commissions that have not filed a report or who have reported inactivity for 2 years. And I did submit previously copies of reports to Kristen, and I think she shared that with all of you. And so the Higher Education and a Personal Violence Advisory Commission, they reported, but they have reported inactivity, and they have a board clerk. And then the State Education and Employment Outcomes Task Force, they have not, they reported but inactivity. And so, and I believe we need if they're gonna continue to exist, we would need a new clerk, I believe.
The Legislative Council assigns staff to that. So that would be someone in my office, and we have been reporting that they haven't met. So.
And that's for both of those boards, the higher education, so the Higher Education Interpersonal Violence. So that one was a bill that was LD 1727. So it sounds like it was not convened, but some of the work that was done around that one, and they've reported inactivity, you said, right? Okay. And then the other one, sounds like they haven't met since 2014. Okay.
Can I just follow?
Yes, Representative Graham.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Bowden, for being here. On the item 14, the Maine Higher Education Interpersonal Violence Advisory Commission, can you just, do you have historical data, meaning have they reported inactivity for a number of years? Like, are we talking more than 10? Or are we talking, this is the first session that they've reported inactivity?
I'm not sure exactly. I don't have that information. I just can tell you that they didn't report any activity for 2024 and 2025. Right now, previous to that, I'm not sure.
And I think the university's testimony indicated that, if I'm remembering correctly, that
I think one of the things, I just want to go back to original.
it's never been convened, I think the testimony said. That's what that's from the university.
I think that when we first started talking about this bill and getting information, one of the things we know is once you eliminate a board or commission, to getting them back is really hard. And so I'm really concerned, speaking as the sponsor of the bill, I'm really concerned about eliminating a board that we aren't really sure. And I'm, even if they haven't, but I also can recognize, like, since 2014, I think the message is clear that that particular board hasn't met. I'm not comfortable in eliminating the Interpersonal Violence Advisory Commission because it was part of a law that was passed, and I'm getting a mixed message on that one. I would feel comfortable with the two boards that eliminating the Board of Licensure of Professional Investigators and the Polygraph Examiners Advisory Board. And then um, this final one that we, just heard about, we were just talking about the State Education Employment Outcome Task Force. That hasn't met, since 2014. I'm not comfortable, eliminating any of the other ones, but I'm looking to the committee. Representative Tool?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would agree, and I would say, at least for the first three, as far as the other one that has not met, was part of statute, there's no harm in giving them another 2 years to see what happens. And if they're still inactive in 2 years, that may be a conversation for the next group, but if people aren't filling out their paperwork, whether they want to stay or go, sometimes silence does say something. So I would be on board with what you proposed.
I would make a motion then, ought to pass, as amended, eliminating, the Board of Licensure of Professional Investigators, the Polygraph Examiners Advisory Board, and the State Education and Employment Outcomes Task Force. Any discussion? What?
Yeah, just want to clarify that this would be amending the bill, that these are the only three that would actually be removed and all the others be taken off, correct?
That all the other ones would stay as they are. Yeah, only
Stay as
those.
They are, but come off from the bill because the bill was to eliminate.
Yeah, so just those three would be, okay, yep. Yes. Any other discussion? Okay, Sophie, I think thank you so much.
I never get to sit up here. Okay. Representative Tool.
It is always, yes.
Representative Tool, yes. Representative Pomelo.
Yes.
Representative Pomelo, yes. Representative Greenwood.
Yes.
Representative Greenwood, yes. Representative Gremlick.
Yes.
Representative Gremlick, yes. Representative Salisbury.
Yes.
Representative Salisbury, yes. Senator Martin.
Yes.
Senator Martin, yes. Representative Copeland.
Yes.
Representative Copeland, yes. Representative Rollins.
Yay.
Representative Rollins, yay. Representative Farren.
Yay.
Representative Farren, yay. Oh, the motion on the vote is ought to pass as amended, unanimous.
Great, thank you so much for that. All right, close the work session on this and we'll move back to public hearing? Yes, it's public hearing, LD 1004. Presented by Representative Noonan. Thank you for your patience. Yes, do that right now. Yeah. We're just taking, some of our members are having a quick corner caucus. Sorry, Representative Moonen. So we'll take just a quick break. Okay, all right, we are back and we have now LD 1004. Thank you, Representative Moonen, for your patience.
Thank you for having me. I've got testimony copies here for all of you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Representative Salisbury and honorable members of the Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government. My name is Matt Moonen. I represent a part of Portland, and I'm here to present LD 1004, which as proposed would be amended with a new title, which the one I'm suggesting is quite long. Feel free to do whatever you want with the title, but what I'm suggesting is an act to adjust certain implementation and reporting dates and legislation recently enacted or passed by the legislature and subsequently held by the governor. As you all know, there were a number of bills passed by the legislature last year that were held by the chief executive at the end of the session last June. Subsequently, the chief executive allowed almost all of those bills to become law when we returned this year for the start of the second regular session. Per the Maine Constitution, those bills are now law and will either become effective 90 days after the close of the current session, or in the case of emergency legislation, they became effective on January 11th of this year. Unfortunately, several of those bills contain dates for reports or other deadlines that anticipated that those bills would be passed and become effective last year. For example, some of the implementation dates or report deadlines in those bills were this past December or this past January. As a result, these deadlines obviously cannot be met. The bill before you simply seeks to address that problem and ensure that departments and agencies can meet realistic timelines for legislation that have either recently gone into effect or will be in effect 90 days after we adjourn. This bill does not seek to make any policy changes to the legislation, nor does it seek to pass any judgment on the legislation that was passed last year. It simply seeks to ensure that the directives that this body put into law can be met in a realistic manner by the individuals we have tasked to do that work. The nearly 20 bills addressed by this legislation include both Democratic and Republican-sponsored bills, and we consulted with the bill sponsors to make sure they agreed with the proposed changes. In all cases, we sought to arrive at the easiest and most logical way to meet the intent of the law. Generally, that just resulted in advancing deadlines out roughly a year to account for the new effective dates of the legislation. For bills that required or allowed the legislature to take additional action based on the report backs, we have authorized that to be done in the first year of the 133rd legislature. I would like to thank Ryan McDonald on my staff, as well as your committee analyst, Kristen Bishop, who both of them worked very hard together to draft this bill. I'm sad that Kristen is not here because since she did all the work, she would be better able to answer all of your questions about the details than I would. But hopefully she'll be here for the work session. Awesome. She will be, if it's tomorrow, as you suggest. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions, but honestly, I really can't. The gist is we moved out the deadlines for all those bills, and Kristen can explain to you all the details when she's back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions, Representative Toole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the one question I would have, was there any conversation with the chief executive's office about whether she would be supportive of this or not?
I haven't spoken to her directly. I'm getting a shaking head from Ryan that he hasn't. I mean, I guess I would theorize that if she chose to let all of those bills become law, she would theoretically be supportive of the deadlines of those bills that became law being more realistic. So I would hope so, but I haven't talked to her about it.
Other questions for Representative Moonen? Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody here that would like to testify for, against, neither for nor against, any of the above? No. All right, so the plan is, if this is amenable to the committee, we do have a work session scheduled for tomorrow at 1 o'clock or after session ends. Kristen will be back at that time and we can talk more about the bill. If that is okay with everybody, we'll move forward with that. We also do, as a committee, have other business we need to attend to tomorrow. Okay, shaking their heads. Yes. All right, great.
Ready to close the public hearing.
Say that again.
Close the public hearing.
I'm closing the public hearing. And now we're adjourned.